Welcome to this edition of Inside UNE. I'm Joel Soloway. In this program, I hope to shed light upon certain UNE events that concern some of the various social matters and issues that are present in our community. I'm a student at the University of New England studying applied social and cultural studies and communications. I'm currently interning at Biddeford Public Access to fulfill a requirement that is needed for both of my majors. In this edition of Inside UNE, you will learn about the Green Dot Bystander Intervention Program and its relation to the university. I had the opportunity to speak with one-on-one with Angela Schambarger, the Title IX coordinator and certified Green Dot instructor at UNE, to discuss some of the goals and training methods of the Green Dot Initiative. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this program.
My name is Angela Schambarger, and I am the Title IX coordinator for the University of New England. And what that means is I'm the primary person responsible for prevention, education around gender violence and discrimination, and to respond to reports of that at the institution among faculty, staff, and students. A good chunk of my job is prevention and education for the community, and the Green Dot program is a bystander intervention strategy which helps students, faculty, staff understand some of the key concepts around power-based personal violence and how they can play a role in preventing it in their community. So I think that my job dovetails nicely with that program.
How and when did UNE become involved with the Green Dot training program?
I believe the summer of 2014, I went to an instructor training in Kentucky. I had learned about the program at a Title IX training the year before and found this opportunity to go do the training. I went, found out more about it, thought our campus community would be a good fit for that approach. We brought Green Dot here later that winter and trained about 19 staff members and started rolling it out in 2015 to the community. This year I've had 3 student ones that have happened and 2 faculty and staff ones that have happened, and I have a couple of overview speeches scheduled, which are kind of an hour synopsis, kind of an introduction to the Green Dot strategy. So I have one later this month, and I'm doing one with our IPEC group for our College of Health Professions in April. So, and I think we'll probably have at least one more faculty and staff and then at least one more student training after this. We've had about 78 students trained this year so far. I have 35 scheduled for Sunday, and I'm looking at a couple dozen for the 25th, so that number will rise as we get closer. My target goal was 100 for this year, and what's nice about that is some of them are student leaders. Like I know the resident advisors who don't have to take back Green Dot to their floors and working with their students. Athletes have taken it back to their teams and been talking with their teams because it's a very accessible program and concept, so they talk about it. And we also manage a Facebook page that they'll comment on and we'll follow. So that's what we've done so far for training, and kind of it's a ripple effect program, I think. So.
For me, it was more personal experience. I've had a few friends recently who have gotten into kind of bad relationships, and actually had to intervene for them. And I think it's an uncomfortable situation if you don't necessarily know how to step in, and then just kind of taking that community commitment and trying to step in for people. So I was hoping to kind of learn more techniques, since I could be a passive person, so I was hoping to kind of learn how to do it in an appropriate way.
Its mission is to provide individuals with the tools they need to be active bystanders, to understand what their personal obstacles are to acting when they see something that's potentially high risk or inappropriate, and how to overcome their barriers, and that obstacles can feel really big but be very small, or they have lots of tools and lots of ways to get around that to still make a difference. I think for a long time we've been looking at violence statistics in the community, particularly around gender violence and sexual violence, where we talk about 1 in 4 women who will be assaulted while they're in college, or 1 in 10. And some of those statistics change depending on which research you're looking at. But those statistics haven't changed for the past 30 years because we're really looking at people not to get raped or not to rape. But really what it can be is, if you look at the community as responsible for helping to keep violence from happening in the community, it creates a whole new paradigm of looking at it. I know as the conduct director, which was my role prior to being in Title IX, when I would have an alleged case of sexual assault or gender violence, 90% of those cases involved other people who could have stepped in at some point along that continuum of action, who may have been able to do something to change the outcome, but nobody did. And they all had legitimate reasons, but no one knew what to do. So the Green Dot perspective and technique really puts a lot of responsibility on all of us as community members, because when you talk to people, no one believes that violence is good. No one wants that in their community. So giving them the tools to do something when they see something that's questionable. The strategy is based on uses the technique where it looks at red dots and green dots, and when we do the training, we talk to students about bystander intervention. We look at, so imagine your community is demonstrated by a map of your community, and each act of violence is demonstrated by a red dot on your map. This could be harmful words, it could be an assault, it could be something that's negative. And a green dot are all of those things that we do to fill up our community with positive behaviors that let folks know that violence is not okay here. And they can be either reactive, where you're seeing something and you get engaged then and do something to stop the violence, or they're proactive in that you set a community standard and value system that doesn't leave room for violence.
I think what this training does well is it gives examples, and kind of with the group discussions it'll give you the videos, and so you kind of have an open discussion about things that people are able to observe, since we might not always know how to pick up on those behaviors if you see them happen just out in the community. And so I think that's good to try to train us on what we should be looking for, and just techniques of what it is you can do and when to step in.
The training classes are pretty intensive. For students, they're 5 hours, and for faculty and staff, it's a 3-hour program, whereas our overviews are about an hour. For our students, when I do it with the students, part of what it is we do a lot of definition about what power-based personal violence is. We use that terminology instead of just gender-based violence, because it's not necessarily based on female or male gender. It's much broader when you think about it. And we talk about what some of the behaviors are, what are the red dots, what are things that you might see that would be concerning that might need an intervention. So really try to help them break down what problematic or red dot behaviors are and what positive green dot behaviors might be for that. And we do that in multiple ways. Part of it is me standing up and talking to them, but there's a lot of interactive, a lot of activities that they do that are fun and engaging. They move around a lot, so that seems to work really well, and they really get engaged with it. There's a little bit of competition where they try to stay engaged for cheesy prizes, but it works for them. So yeah, we also talk about how culture changes. We talk about culture change and tipping point of culture change. We use the Facebook analogy and how it takes so little effort to create a Facebook account, but when everyone does that little 2 minutes of putting in their email address and creating a Facebook account, there's billions of people now over the past decade who've created Facebook accounts, and it's a driving force, not just in our own country, but across the world. And now such a small action can create such a big shift in a culture. So, and that resonates for them a lot. With faculty and staff, it's similar, but we really talk about it from their sphere of influence as faculty and staff working with students in a college campus. And it's slightly shifted to that perspective.
So the trainings are they mixed ever, or are they usually just faculty staff?
We usually do students by themselves and then faculty staff by themselves, because people will share pretty sensitive information, and we try to create a space where they feel safe doing that, and really do a lot with both clicker technology, so they're able to share experiences or answers without having people knowing who's saying what. So we do a lot of trigger warnings and safe space, so people know that they can participate as they feel comfortable, and that there's some safety around that. I think beyond just looking at gender violence, the skills are transferable to all aspects of the life experience. I did a training recently with faculty and staff. One of the faculty raised their hand and said, these things that we're talking about, they can be used in almost any scenario. I said, absolutely. If you see or encounter a behavior that makes you feel uncomfortable or seems inappropriate, you can engage in those same bystander behaviors, and we frame it through 3 Ds as the technique, the distraction, the direct approach, or the delegation approach. So either you go directly up and intervene, you delegate it to someone else, like a security officer, a bouncer, or another friend, an RA, a security officer, or even the distraction, which is where most students feel most comfortable, is you create some sort of distraction either by using your phone, texting, or some other behavior that interrupts the momentum of a behavior trajectory. And so, but that could also work with alcohol or drug behavior or other kinds of interaction, bullying behaviors and that sort of thing. So there's a lot in the K-12 sector where they're talking about green dot strategies around bullying in some of those situations. So I think the personal techniques that we're teaching people to self-advocate and to get involved positively with what's around them is transferable, whether they're a student, they're an athlete, they're a parent, a teacher. So I think that's the power in the presentation.